Hello, welcome back to the PC Tech to J channel. And here we are with the poor man's RYZEN, the AMD A6400K series, made in 2011. Look how old this thing is. It's an old CPU back in 2011. Now, is this the next budget gamer's option for 2019? Probably not. Well, it is. If you're on a tight budget, go for this. But in all seriousness, is the A6400K for poor people? Well, not unless you want to build a cheap system. Let's just say we go for a cheap motherboard, like hold on a sec, let me get this motherboard. Like this one. Say we're building a system, we put the CPU in and everything, we do this. We put the CPU in, plop, bada boom, install the heatsink, and then we're done. But in all seriousness, AMD is not for poor people. However, they say, oh, Intel is bigger, we have better specs and everything. Well, no, actually, if you look at, there's a similar between the i9 and the Threadripper. They're basically the same power. It's pretty simple, and let's just say NVIDIA is better than AMD, but in all seriousness, in fact, the Radeon 7 has got the same power as an RTX 2080. Bet you didn't know that. Same power, but in all seriousness, let's go deeper into this, but is this the next poor man's budget RYZEN? Well, yes, these still on eBay, any other site that still sell these old CPUs. Is it a next budget? Could this be something that's for people who like CPUs like this? Oh, you have no idea. But, when you have a cheap motherboard, you bash, boom, you plop it into the socket, and then you're finished. And you're like, there we go, I got myself a new poor man's RYZEN AMD A6400K. Well, the poor man's RYZEN is probably the Athlon 200 GE. Good point, I don't know, yeah. But could this be another poor man's RYZEN? The A6 series, the old one from 2011, and 2011, yeah, and it matches this motherboard, a DDR3 socket. But in all seriousness, AMD is not for poor people. However, there is a few things you want to save an extra buck. You want to save an extra £1 for having to spend money on top dog CPUs. But if you want something cheap, then you can forget about 6 cores and 12 threads. Instead, you're going to go for something a lot weaker, and that has integrated graphics. However, my system's got a Ryzen 5 2600. Oh, I'm a big shot and everything. No, I'm not trying to show off in this video, because I'm trying to help people who are in desperate need of a budget CPU. Yes, this is the next poor man's Ryzen 5, obviously. But, this is up to you. You can buy a cheap motherboard like the Gigabyte motherboard, which is an FM2. Looks similar to my new motherboard, which I got not long ago. But in all seriousness, however, this thing is probably like £30 for this thing. It's not recommended because it's got little cores and little threads. What can we do? We can't. I don't think this is really an overclockable motherboard. It is not really overclockable. Not as it can try and do that, but they no longer support the drivers for these, because obviously AMD stopped supporting the AMD A6 series. But you can find drivers are just easy to get around anyway. But this thing our probably the poor man's RYZEN. Don't worry, don't bash on your keyboard saying, "Oh, it's not," because I'm kind of correct, I'm kind of wrong, because no, it is not really a poor man's RYZEN. Like some people, they got the most. Let's just say you're the kid in the class and you got like all the most top end. Let's just say there's a kid in your class saying, "Oh, I got the top end system," that, and you can beat this schmuck because you just say, "Oh, I got a RYZEN 5," and go to my mates and tell them that at school that I got a new RYZEN 5 and everything, and you're a big shot. Well, you're the kid that's in the class that's still got this thing. You still basically got this thing in your embarrassment computer. I'm not trying to be a screenshot, but this could be a next budget gamers for 2019. I'd say if you're that tight, go for an old A series that's from 2011. The CPU that I didn't really see very much on YouTube because most of these CPUs are unpopular. Yeah, back in the day, AMD wasn't really a big successor from Intel, but now Intel, most of the markets are just like being 4% by AMD, beating them very slowly. Yes, AMD will probably win one day, but Intel users don't bash down on your keyboard saying, "Oh, Intel is better than this and that." Go watch that video that Intel versus AMD, and I'll explain everything. But I would say yes, this is a next budget for people who are really tight on CPUs like the top dog ones. But at least what I would say is a failed series, probably because they're not really gaming capable. It did play Grand Theft Auto 4. You could play old CSGO on the lowest settings probably, and you could probably play Crysis at medium settings to low. But this thing, I gotta say, I give it for power, I give it a 1 out of 10. For being budget, 10 out of 10 because this is for poor people. Sorry. Okay, well, I'd say yes, this is probably for poor people. Don't get offended that I'm saying you're poor and you got just a very bad laptop. Not my problem, your problem to deal with that. You got bad CPU that is not working. Not my issue. If it's your problem, deal with it yourself, because I ain't here to deal with your stuff and you ain't here to deal with me. So what would I say? Could this be a next budget? Yes, it could, but this motherboard is old and I've had it until long as I can keep it, and we got a new computer. But I'm going to end the video here. Oh, and one more thing before we go. Yes, I'd buy this thing if I were you, because if you're that tight, go for this piece of turd of a CPU. Don't forget to subscribe and like to PC Tech Today, and goodbye.